What you're looking at is not just an ancient and very outdated string trimmer that's from a brand most people consider to be, and I put this nicely, substandard, even when compared to other affordable trimmers. And if you do decide to use this to take down any tall weeds, you better clear your entire schedule because it's going to take you all day to do it. But the bigger question is, are these worth saving? And according to some of the comments I've gotten about this one, you might be surprised by the answer. In today's video, we're going to look at this Weed Eater brand string trimmer, and the problem is that it won't start. Now, I've already made a video about this trimmer, and if you want to see that video, there should be a link to it at the top of the screen or at the end of the video. And I'm just going to use the video as a background while I talk about why anyone would want to have and let alone use something like this. Now, unfortunately, this one belongs to a coworker, but by the end of the video, I'm going to try and coax it out of their hands, and you'll see why here pretty soon. So when they gave me this trimmer to try and fix, I was absolutely taken back by its design. I hadn't seen anything like this before. In fact, I had to do some research just to familiarize myself with it. Come to find out, there are people out there who really like this particular style of trimmer. Now, I didn't ask why, but I'm assuming it probably had some sentimental value to them. Oh, and before I continue, I do want to sincerely apologize to everyone. This video was filmed when I wasn't cleaning stuff before I fixed them, so you're going to see something that's going to get a lot of people kind of upset, if not at least a bit concerned by the abundance of dirt mostly all over the carb. Even as I edit this video, it really disturbs me that I didn't even try to remove any of it before starting on it. If there was ever a good reason to clean the equipment you're going to work on, this one would be a textbook example. Now, is it necessary to clean everything you work on? Not really, but by the end of this video, you might change your mind about that. One of the biggest reasons why I didn't bother cleaning anything at the beginning of my hobby was because I never saw anyone do it either. And if they did do it, it wasn't in the videos I watched. So for those of you who've been doing this kind of work for a very long time and have always cleaned stuff before working on it, well then I applaud your effort. Now, I've worked on a few rare pieces of equipment before, such as a Green Machines trimmer and a John Deere trimmer, but those are what I would call good brands. I also call them rare because I hardly see them where I'm located at. Now, these may be more prolific in your area, but here I've only seen a few examples of them. So you can imagine my surprise when I started getting some very uplifting and positive comments about this particular trimmer. Now, there were a few that mentioned that it wasn't worth fixing, and that's a very valid assessment, but if you've seen any of my videos, you know that I'm going to give it a try at least once. The problem with this one was its condition. As you can see, the green color, which is not paint, is very faded, which means it was left outside for a very long time, which didn't do it any favors. Now, if you've seen my videos before, I've been known to pour gallons of water all over the machines I clean, but I typically try and help them to dry off, which won't hurt them, but when it's rained on for years, this is typically the result: lots of rust and corrosion. Now, depending upon how much water got inside the engine, this may be a lost cause. Now, some of the other comments mentioned about using the trimmer as a wall hanger for decoration only, and I might still do that, but for right now, we're going to try and save it. If I do get it running again, one of the items I want to eventually look into is trying to get the plastics to look a lot better. However, that might be a tough one. The reason is because this one is old enough that it might also have fiberglass in with the plastic. And the last time I tried to get one that had fiberglass in it to look good, I ended up with glass in my forearm. So if this one is the same, I'm not going to touch it. So back to trying to fix old trimmers and old equipment. In general, there's not a real market for them unless it's got something of a reputation. The best example would be an older lawn boy mower, specifically the brick tops, which is something I have yet to come across, at least for free. Now, there have been a few for sale here and there, but they want good money for them, which unfortunately means I'm not going to buy them. The only issue is that for me, I didn't have any connection with the older lawn boy mowers. Now, my father never used them, and to be honest, I don't think any of my relatives had them either, at least the two-stroke ones. So what did my father use when I was a kid? Well, that's an easy one: a curved shaft Ryan trimmer and a Suzuki-powered Toro mower. Now, I only ever got to use the mower, but because of this exposure, I have an affinity for them. So what would happen if I came across these two items from my childhood on the marketplace? Easy, I'd definitely try and buy them. Of course, they'd have to be a good price. I'm not going to overpay just to get my childhood back. The worst part was that at the time, I didn't realize that the mower I was using was a two-stroke, and it took my dad telling me to only use the gas can that was marked Toro and not the others. I will say this: I put a lot of miles on that Toro, and I enjoyed it more than I realized. That's the reason why I wouldn't mind getting another one. I just never realized how much of an impact it would have on me as a kid and eventually as an adult, so it would make sense that someone else might have the same sort of experience with this mundane looking trimmer, but this sort of affiliation doesn't stop at a single trimmer. This could obviously go for any piece of lawn equipment. But this sort of connection can go beyond equipment as well. I've seen it happen with automobiles, toys, and even items used in hunting game or target practice. I'm not going to mention the items by name for obvious reasons, but I think you get the idea. Now, what you're looking at isn't as significant, but to someone else, this might have just as much meaning to it. So besides a nostalgic connection to an old piece of equipment, is there another reason someone would want to try and fix, restore, or save something like this? Sure, that reason would be an environmental one. Like I've said in my past videos, I am not turning into an environmentalist, so hear me out for a minute. Now, this machine was not broken. It wasn't even missing anything. It just needs to be serviced to get it working again. Now, I could understand if the fuel tank was broken or the shaft was severely bent that you might consider it to be junk, but if that's the case, put it on the curb with a free sign, and it may take a day or 3, but I'm pretty sure someone will come by and pick it up. This obviously won't apply if you're the last house on a dead-end street. In that case, put it by the main road and it will disappear. Now, personally, I hate seeing something that's not broken be scrapped or thrown away into a landfill, especially if it's in one piece and someone just wants to get rid of it. Every time I go to the metal recyclers, I hate seeing trailers loaded with perfectly good-looking lawnmowers and bicycles and generators just waiting to be scrapped. Just don't be tempted to try and buy them off the other people inside the yard, because apparently they don't condone these interactions, at least the one I go to. They'll ask you to take it outside of the yard. I guess that's what happens when the scrapyard is part of a large corporation. So I've given you 2 somewhat sappy reasons why you should try and save one of these ancient machines, but what about using them? Well, this is going to be interesting to explain. As in the case of this trimmer, it's not going to be used in any sort of heavy-duty work. It's mainly going to be used on a lawn that isn't going to be too overgrown, and I doubt it's going to be taking down any thick grass either, mainly because it's not going to be able to swing a thick trimmer line. So for this one, I don't expect it's going to be sold to a lawn care professional unless they want to use it as a backup trimmer like they do on Top Gear, where if you manage to break the trimmer you're using, then the penalty is to use the ancient trimmer. I hate to say it, but if I ever start my own lawn care business, I might have to use that as a penalty that would hopefully get the workers to treat their tools like it's their own. I doubt it's going to work though, because it rarely worked on Top Gear. Unfortunately for this trimmer, I had to struggle with it for quite some time, and after getting it to run with some success, I told the owners that it needed a new carb, mainly because of the exposure it had to the elements, but finding a new carb proved to be the nail in the coffin, and it was given to me mainly for my efforts. So this trimmer is now my problem, and I can either get an expensive ultrasonic cleaner to try and save the original carb, or find a new old stock carb for it. Either way, it's on the wall for right now until I can figure out how to best deal with it. Now, trying to fix old stuff is a lot harder than it looks. So even though this experience of trying to fix something that's this old and not very popular in the market has proven to be a bit of a challenge, so why even bother trying then? Easy, because it is challenging. Now, this sort of experience isn't for everyone. Most would rather work on something that was much newer, and they could easily find the parts for it by using an online parts store. But to be honest, I like it when the fix is a bit more challenging than just ordering the parts, getting them in 2 days, and having it running the same day. That's definitely not going to happen with this one. So it starts and kind of runs, and there is a bit of a bearing noise, most likely from the trimmer head and hopefully not the engine. Now this one is going to be a real challenge to fix, but to be honest, I'm going to enjoy working on it, and when it is done, it's going to be very rewarding, which is the biggest reason why saving these old machines is worth it. So my question is, would you ever consider taking on the challenge of fixing up and using something this old? Now, I really didn't understand why until I realized just how boring it is when all the repairs start to feel the same. You might find yourself looking for something more interesting to work on. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.